What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Twisted Twenties. This is a podcast dedicated to reminding you of your God given purpose through personal testimonies, trials, and personal revelations. I believe that each and every single one of us was created with a purpose for a purpose, and it is up to us to align with it. I'm your host, T. Louise. Welcome to Twisted Twenties. I'm so excited for this episode because I don't think we understand how simple God is and how we complicate our lives just by not listening to God. And so this episode will be for those people who have been given direction from God and have not done what God is asking of you. And we just complicate so many things by questioning Him. If you guys would love to be a host on Twisted Twenties, you guys can send me a 1 to 2 minute video at submissions@twistedtwenties.org. And if you don't want to be a co-host, that's cool too. You can still email me at the same email. Send me reviews, send me topics that you guys would like for me to talk about. If you guys want feedback, send me that as well. I just want to say I appreciate every single person that has been listening to this Twisted 20s journey, following me along. You guys, Twisted 20s is now at 1,700 plays. And first of all, I just want to say thank you to God because He has truly been doing His thing with my podcast. And so I'm so excited to see where God is taking this Twisted 20s journey. And with that being said, we are going to go ahead and get into today's podcast episode. All right, y'all, welcome back. So I decided that I wanted to do this episode because for a long time, I was one of those people and have still been one of those people that make things complicated on my journey with God. Someone once told me that God is simple, but we complicate it. And when I initially heard that thought, I said to myself, why do we complicate everything? Actually, how do we complicate things? And me and Babe was literally just having a conversation about this today. And we came to the conclusion that when God gives us direction, one of the ways that we complicate things is we always ask, why? Because we are human, we try to understand everything. And we try to understand everything in our fleshly take instead of looking at things from a spiritual aspect. We get in the way because it doesn't make sense to us. It doesn't make sense to us, but it makes sense to God. So what makes sense to God is not going to make sense to us. This is the same. I will give y'all a personal example. If God tells you to start a podcast, or actually I'll give y'all a better example. God tells you to sow $200 to someone. Your check is $200. And you like, God, wait a minute. Like, this is my last. Like, I could see if you said maybe 100, maybe 50, but God wants you to give everything that you have to your name and bless someone else. It doesn't make sense, right? And we're trying to figure out how it makes sense to us, but it doesn't. And so one thing that I've learned is God is always going to ask you to do something that may not make sense to you, because God will do the impossible. We have to do the possible. The example that Babe shared with me today was just so awesome. So I'm going to share it with y'all. Babe said, God is our chauffeur, our Uber, our Lyft, okay? Whatever you want to call it, the MARTA bus, the MTA, okay? He is our chauffeur, and he wants to be our chauffeur. Some of us allow God to be our chauffeur, but God wants to be our chauffeur through life. But we want to chauffeur God. He said, or we get to a certain point in our life, God will bring us to our promise. God will bring us to the blessing, and then we'll be like, all right, my boy, you can hop out. I got it from here. We get to a certain point in our lives, and then we want to take over from there, and then wonder why we stressed out, we depressed, we on E, we running on fumes. When God is like, if you would just let me be the chauffeur of your life, you will never run dry. You will never be depressed. You will, and let me not even say that, because there are times, y'all have been, my pastor has been preaching some of the most shaking messages for the past couple weeks that has been shaking my soul to its core. I'm talking about messages that has me like fighting myself, fighting what I know God is telling me to do, but I still, for some reason, cannot move from a place of grief, a place of trauma. I can't. I'm gonna stop saying I can't. This is by far the hardest thing that I've had to do, is to continue to live life without my mom, to fulfill everything that God is telling me to do without my mom being here to see it. It is hard. But I have been complicating the next steps that God has been giving to me, because I've gotten to this place where I'm like, God, I can't move. I don't know how to move. I literally was crying out to him today, and I'm like, God, I need you. I need your help to move from this place. If you want me to do this, if you want me to fulfill your purpose, your will, I need you to help me move from this place. Because I know that I cannot stay here and move forward. I cannot stay in this place that I'm in and still fulfill what God needs me to fulfill. I don't remember if it was the last week's episode or the week before, and I told y'all it's not enough for me to just be consistent with my podcast anymore. I have to do more. I have to do more. Today, I saw a vision. And I've been having these weird dreams. I don't really even call them dreams. They haven't been dreams. They're just visions. I had a vision this morning while I was at church. And I had a vision. I was talking in front of people. I don't know where I was, but someone asked me, did I always believe in myself? Did I always believe I would be here at this moment? And I told them, no, I didn't. I was just being obedient. And I feel like when I had that vision, that was God telling me to be obedient, even in the midst of what you're going through, even in the midst of being broke, even in the midst of depression, even in the midst of trauma, even in the midst of grief, even in all these things, you still have to be obedient, because at some point in the midst of your obedience, all those things that are keeping you bound, all those things that you thought of yourself, all that fear, all that doubt, all that negative things that you've kept on you, they're going to fall off. They're going to fall off. Why? Because you are being obedient to what God is telling you to do. God is so simple, but we complicate it. We complicate it with our attitudes. We complicate it with our overthinking. We complicate it with fear. We complicate it with looking and walking by sight and not by faith. We complicate everything that God tells us to do, and then we sit around and we wonder why we're not where we want to be. We wonder why we're still struggling financially, still struggling. We complicate it. I think it was last week's episode where I was like, it's you, boo. You are the problem, sis. You are the problem. You are the reason why. All God, like, I'm not just talking to y'all on this episode. Like, I'm literally talking to myself too. And sometimes you have to get to a point. Maybe y'all are at a place where I'm at right now. Like, God, if you need me to do this, if this is the will that you have for my life, you have to help me. Like, you are literally going to have to help me get out of this space, because I can't do it on my own. And that's been my problem. I've been trying to do it all on my own. Oh, I got this. I'm good. I'm in therapy. I got this. I don't need nothing. No. And sitting here suffering in silence. God wants to be your chauffeur through life, but we want to chauffeur God. And it doesn't work that way. A lot of us don't spend time with God. We don't read. We don't even try to pick up our Bibles. We don't even try to pray. Some of us, we give God our last fumes of energy. But we expect him to do these grand and impossible things in our lives. But we don't do anything but complicate the directions that he's given us, which ultimately leads to complications in our lives. That's good. That is bomb. When we complicate direction from God, it complicates our lives. That is so. I got to clap on that one, y'all, because that is bomb. I'm going to say that one more time. When we complicate direction from God, it complicates our lives. Ooh. I'm putting that on the gram, okay? That is going on Instagram. It may not go on there today, but it's going on there. I don't know when, but it's going. That is fine. I just got to say that one more time for the people in the back so they know for sure, okay? When we complicate direction from God, we complicate our lives. Man, that is so good. Like, that is bomb. Like, y'all just came, well, God just gave me that. So, okay. That is so good because a lot of us think that it's God's fault that our lives are the way that they are. A lot of us think that it's God's fault that we're going through the things that we're going through. And in reality, it's because we've complicated his direction. We've questioned him. We've been disobedient. We've tried to find shortcuts in his direction. We've tried to find loopholes. Well, God, what if I do this? Like back to the $200. Okay, what if I give him 100, 150, 175? It may not be the whole 200, but I got enough money to do this and this and this. And God may be telling you to give him $200 because he got $2,000 on the way for you at the same time. But you complicated it by not doing what he asked you to do. Y'all, I will even share a personal example with y'all. I'm sitting up here looking at my 2022 vision board. There's only a few things I have done on this list. Be consistent the entire year. I have done that so far. So far, so good. Continue to allow God to lead the show in the direction he needs it to go. So far, so good. And keep it God-centered. There will be a point where my podcast will always be a representation of God, but every episode will not always be me preaching about God. But I do want y'all to know that it will always be a representation of God. And I don't know why I'm going here, but when I wrote my vision board, I think we did this vision board like sometime last year before 2022 came. And as I'm looking at some of the things I wrote down, here it is about to be September and I have not done majority. I'm going to say majority of the things that I have written down. And I would like to say that a lot of these things God gave to me to do. And I believe that they are directions that God needs me to go in. A couple months ago, God told me I need you to start making videos. I need you to start putting more content out. And I made 2 videos on my phone. And unfortunately, if you're like me, I have a lot of screenshots and pictures and videos. So your girl has no space. Okay? I don't even have no space on my laptop. It's just sad. It's just sad how many screenshots that I have that I really do not need, but I feel like I'm gonna need them one day, which is why I have not deleted them. Okay, you never know. But anyway, I done lost my train of thought. See, I need to do better. So I say all that to say, I believe that God has given me direction. And a couple months ago, he told me I need you to start making videos. I need you to put yourself out there. And I said, okay, God, I felt a little fire about it. I was like, yeah, I got this. I made 2 videos and that was it. And I put them on TikTok and I felt so burnt out after that. I didn't do nothing else. I didn't have any space. And I had been talking to Babe's mom about it. I was like, man, I really need to start doing more content, but I don't have any space for it. I want to film on my camera, but my laptop don't have no space. Like, where am I going to put my video? Like, it was just all a mess. So she came in town a couple weeks ago and she's like, hey, you remember how you were telling me that you didn't have any space to create your content and things like that? I was like, yeah. I was like, I'll probably try to, invest and give me an iPad here soon. This lady bought me a whole iPad, y'all. She bought me a whole iPad, okay? She bought me a new iPad, and this lady told me, she said, I call her Mama T. Mama T told me, she said, I believe in your dreams. She said, now go make it happen. Do y'all know I ain't recorded no content on my iPad yet? I'm laughing about it because that was the sole purpose of me wanting to get an iPad. But I'm telling y'all this because I too struggle. Because I've said this before, I never want to get on my podcast and present myself like a finished product. Because I'm not a finished product. I am a product in the making. I'm still learning who I am. I'm still trying to maneuver my way in this Christian walk with God, and I'm trying to become the best me that I can, the best representation of God that I can become, the woman of God that He needs me to be. And so I say all that to say is, like, I struggle too. I struggle with complicating direction from God. I know that God needs me to create more content, and if I'm being honest with y'all, I had a personal revelation a couple weeks ago, and I don't know if I shared this with y'all or not, but I'm going to share it again, if I did, because it piggybacks off of what I just said. I was afraid. I told God, I said, God, I don't know if I'm ready. Because right now, it feels like I'm just talking to me, myself, and I, okay? People barely email me. People barely comment. But guess what? I say it every single time I put out an episode because I know that as long as I stay consistent, that eventually I'm going to reach my audience. And eventually, my emails are going to be blowing up so much that I'm going to be like, okay, y'all, I need a break. But that is what I was afraid of. I was afraid that when I do reach my potential audience, the audience that God has for me, that I wouldn't be ready. I was afraid that I would have imposter syndrome. I was afraid I was just afraid. And my aunt, my spiritual mom, I call her Auntie Yele, but she is my spiritual mom. I call her about everything. Every little thing I'm calling her. She told me, she said, you have to do it even if you are afraid. And it takes me back to the vision that God showed me today at church when someone said to me, did you always believe in yourself? Now, don't get me wrong. I've always believed I'm going to have a life of luxury, baby. I have never thought that I was going to have less than. But sometimes I struggle with actually believing that I could get there. And when I told them no, I didn't. I was just being obedient. I believe that this is the moment after these rough few weeks that my pastor, I told him today it's his fault, that my pastor has been shaking up my spirit with. I believe that it's in this moment that even when I was fearful, even when I had doubt in myself, even when I was afraid, I just decided to be obedient. Because you have to be obedient even when you don't know why, even when you don't understand what God is telling you to do, even when it doesn't make sense to you, you still have to be obedient. And stop questioning God. Because what he is telling you to do is always for your good. It's never for your bad. If God is telling you to give $200 and all you have is $200, there's a reason why. And you may not understand it in that moment. But baby, if God, let me tell you something. If God is telling me to give my last to somebody, it must mean he got more on the way. And that's how we have to look at every situation, every direction that God is telling us to do. If God tell us, I need you to move if God tell me I need you to move from Atlanta to California, baby, where we going, God? Where are we going? That is the type of attitude that I am striving to have, is when God gives me direction, that I don't question him, that I don't feel fear, that I don't want to wonder why, but that I get in the car, I buckle my seatbelt, and now allow him to drive me wherever he needs me to go. That is the type of attitude, that is the type of relationship that I am striving to have with him. Because it is so important for us to be obedient to what God needs us to do. Stop making it so complicated. Because I'm going to say it again, because that was fire, okay? When we complicate direction from God, we complicate our lives. And I don't know about y'all, but I'm tired of having complications in life. I'm tired of feeling like I'm going on a merry-go-round. I'm tired. And I don't know if you've gotten to a point where you're like, God, what am I doing? Like last week, I feel like I was going through a quarter life crisis. Like, that's just how I feel. Like, okay, God, like, who am I? I really realized that, I keep saying this all the time, not just on my podcast, but in real life. Like, I never really understood or realized how much my mom's death really, really and truly affected me. Like, I never really understood it. And I'm like, man, like, I lost my mom and I lost myself that night. And now I'm having to relearn everything. Now I'm having to figure out, who am I? Like, I'm not the same person. And I struggled because I kept trying to get back to that person that I was. And God is like, that's not who you are anymore. And then, let me tell y'all, my friend Sade, and if she listening to this, she told me, she said, maybe that's the problem. Because we were on the phone one night. And we were talking, I said, I keep trying, I feel like I'm trying to get back to myself and trying to get back to my old self. And she's like, maybe that's the problem. Maybe you're struggling because that's not who you are anymore. Like, you've been through a lot. That's not who you are anymore. And it wasn't in that moment that I got it. It was like after I went to therapy and I was like, wow. Like, I'm not that person anymore. And a lot of us, we keep trying to go back to old ways, old habits, old things. And God is saying, that's not who you are anymore. I'm trying to turn you into the person that I need you to be. I think it was, let me see. I think I have it in my notes. Actually, you know what? I do have it in my notes, in my sermon notes. Jerry Flowers, y'all. If y'all do not listen to Jerry Flowers, he is a pastor out of Texas that I love to listen to. He has been a very important pastor on my journey with following Christ. And he said in his sermon, that changed me. He said that, oh wait, no, maybe it's not that one. I thought it was, he said that God wants us to experience, I thought it was that one. He said God wants us to experience a more to, I thought it was, I know I wrote that down. I know I wrote it down because I remember reading it when I went back to look at my notes again. He said that God wants us to experience a metamorphosis. And his example was a butterfly. He said a butterfly cannot go back to being a caterpillar. I cannot go back to who I used to be. Me losing my mom changed me. It was the biggest pivotal point of my life. I cannot go back. I cannot get that back. There are things that have happened to you in your life, and you are still mourning over who you used to be, but you don't realize it. And I didn't realize that I was mourning over my old life, my old confidence, my old way. It just, I didn't realize it. But y'all, I don't have no prayers. Actually, you know what? I don't have no prayers today, but I feel like I do. Prayer number 1 is, God, revealed to me how I have complicated your direction, and help me to move in the direction that you need me to move in. It is very important that sometimes we need to realize that we are struggling to do it ourselves and that we need help. We need help. A lot of us don't like to ask for help because a lot of us have been hurt when we have asked for help. But God will never, He will never hurt us, and He will always help us. So that is my prayer for you today, is for God to reveal to you how you have been complicating things, how you have been disobedient, how you have been running away from His direction and complicating your own life. And then I pray that He will help you to move from your place of complication and to help you move into the person that He needs you to be. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I also, I wanted to mention someone who has been supporting me. She shared my podcast on, I do believe it was on Facebook. She shared my podcast, and I believe her name is D. Marie Thomas. I think it's D. Marie Thomas. But I just want to let her know that if she is listening to this episode, I just want to let you know that when you shared that with me, it let me know that I am not just talking to me, myself, and I and God, okay? I want you to know that when you shared that, it encouraged me to keep going. It encouraged me to let me know that there are people listening, and there are people that need what I have to say. And so I love you, girl. I thank you, and I appreciate you so much for your support. And I love each and every single one of you guys. And I'm so grateful and I'm so thankful to have you guys along on my Twisted 20s journey. Peace, love, and blessings. T. Louise.